I don't care if she a championship boxer. Y'all better do a background check on me. The last I heard, boxing gloves can't beat bullets.
Alright, you kids get to bed, I get the storybook.
Remy Ma crashes out on Claressa Shields. Bronx rap queen. Remy Ma was sprawled across her plush bed in her Westchester County mansion, scrolling through her Instagram feed. The buzz of gossip, rap battles, and celebrity drama provided her usual entertainment until a post stopped her cold. It was a video of her estranged husband, Brooklyn MC Papoose, grinning ear to ear, announcing that he and his new girlfriend, the celebrated women's boxing and MMA champion, Claressa Shields, were expecting a child. The diamond-encrusted iPhone flew from Remy's hand, shattering her vanity mirror in a cascade of glass. Her heart sank, anger bubbling to the surface as she replayed his words in her mind. Papoose had been the love of her life, holding her down and never once cheating during her entire 7-year prison stint back in the mid-2000s, and despite her own public mistakes, she couldn't bear to see him move on so completely. And with Claressa Shields, of all people, a dog-ugly, brute-looking bitch who just so happened to have a fat ass that lured her man in, the lyrical rapper revealed that he liked a certain type of woman, with his choice of Claressa, sexy and ratchet-looking. The thought that he was bringing a child into the world with this Doberman pincher face-looking chick was unbearable. By the end of the night, Remy's anger had fermented into something darker. If he thinks he can embarrass me like this, she muttered to herself, he got another thing coming. The next afternoon, Remy gathered her closest friends, Tasha, Nia, and Kiki, for an emergency girls meeting at her apartment down in South Orange, where she rendezvoused with the loser battle rapper, Easy the Block Captain, with whom she was cheating with. The 4 women sat around her small dining table, their glasses filled with cheap Moscato as they got lit while plotting and scheming. Girl, he trying to play you, Tasha said, shaking her head. You got to show him you not the one to be messed with, like you did that bitch back in the day. Nia leaned forward. And her? She said, referring to Claressa. She's a boxer, sure. But that don't mean she can't be dropped, if you know what I mean. Kiki giggled. Exactly. Let her catch that glizzy. She thinks she tough, but we booming bitches over here. Fueled by liquor and egged on by her friends, Remy's anger crystallized into a plan. She began researching Claressa's whereabouts, scrolling through social media and news articles until she found what she was looking for. Claressa was hosting a club event in Detroit that upcoming weekend. Perfect, Remy said, a dangerous glint in her eye. The group rented a black Mercedes Sprinter van for the drive from New York to Detroit. Inside, the atmosphere was a mix of tension and excitement. Tasha loaded the Glock Ghost gun into her bag while Nia scrolled through Spotify, playing a playlist of 90s gangsta New York rap to hype them up. Mobb Deep, Nas, DMX, and Biggie were all in rotation. Remy sat in the back, silent but determined. She rehearsed in her mind how the confrontation would go. She would walk up to the bulldog-looking bitch and make her pay for taking what was hers. The nightclub in downtown Detroit was packed with revelers by the time Remy and her crew arrived. Inside, Claressa Shields had already completed her hosting and walked through duties and was holding court in her VIP section, surrounded by fans and friends. Remy's heart pounded as she spotted the boxer laughing and sipping champagne. Let's do this, Remy whispered to her girls. They made their way to Claressa's VIP section. Security was too slow to react as Remy hurled a glass of liquor straight into the fighter's face. At the same moment, Nia shoved Claressa from behind. The reaction was immediate. Claressa blinked several times to clear the booze out of her eyes and went into full fight mode. Her fists flew, connecting with precision. Tasha and Kiki lunged at her, but champion boxer ducked and countered, landing brutal blows that caused her attacker's bones to crack. In a matter of seconds, Remy and her 4 friends lay sprawled on the grimy floor, battered, bleeding, and bruised as security rushed in to break up the fight. Humiliated, Remy and her crew limped back to the Sprinter van, refusing an ambulance as the bouncers begged to call one for them. And the parking lot was empty except for a few cars and the buzzing streetlights. We'll wait for that dog out here, y'all, Remy said, her voice cold. Her friends exchanged uneasy glances but didn't argue. They huddled in the van, nursing their wounds and watching the clubs exit like hawks. As 3 hours passed, the adrenaline started to wear off. replaced by a gnawing sense of regret. Nia broke the silence. Or maybe we overdid it, she said, her voice tentative. Overdid it? Remy snapped. Bitch, shut up. No less than 5 seconds after Remy uttered those words, Claressa sauntered out of the club. A few of her fans behind her laughing and smiling as she shadowboxed, probably going over details of how she molly-whopped 4 chicks at one time. Before the fighter could reach her gold-wrapped Cybertruck, 9 shots rang out in the brisk Michigan night. Remy Ma, wearing a black Nike mask, then ran up to a lifeless Claressa and emptied the rest of the Ghost Gun's clip into the boxer's body as it lay sprawled on the cold, grimy ground before making an about-face and running to the open doors of the van, Nikki peeling off, squealing the tires as they headed for the interstate. Humiliated and fearful of repercussions, Remy and her crew sped back toward New York under the cover of night, taking turns, driving all of the way there. The drive was tense, the air thick with regret and fear. Do you think anybody know it was us? Kiki asked, her voice trembling. Remy didn't answer. She stared out the window, her mind racing with possibilities. She knew she was masked up and that the cameras in front of the club were too far away to get a clear shot of their van's plates. The next morning, news of the nightclub altercation was all over social media and the news. Detroit police launched an investigation, quickly identifying Remy and her friends as suspects due to the club's cameras catching the altercation inside, where Shields basically handed out 4 cans of ass whooping. The footage from the club confirmed their presence, but there wasn't enough evidence to tie them directly to Claressa's slaughter. Detroit detectives partnered with New York law enforcement and showed up at each woman's doorstep, questioning them about the events of that night. Remy, coached by her lawyer, denied everything. I was there, but I didn't lay a hand on her, she insisted. Me and my girls just wanted autographs, but she was drunk and started punching us. Despite their denials, the investigators weren't convinced. They continued to dig, hoping to find the evidence needed to press charges. As the investigation unfolded, Papoose called Remy, his voice seething with anger. Are you out of your mind, Remy? He yelled. You killed my pregnant girlfriend? You think you gonna get away with this? Remy's heart sank. She had expected his anger, but wasn't prepared for the venom in his voice. Papoose, I didn't, she began, but he cut her off. Dead them lies, shorty, he snapped. You crossed the line and I'ma get you for this. Though they avoided legal consequences, karma had its own way of settling scores. Remy's reputation took a nosedive as the public turned against her. Brands she worked with dropped her, and her music streams began to plummet. Her friends faced similar fallouts, losing jobs and opportunities. Meanwhile, Claressa Shields' family held a vigil for the promising boxer, using the incident to highlight her resilience and accomplishments while on Earth. Remy's once bright career dimmed, and she was left to reflect on the choices that led her to this point. Sitting alone in her Westchester County home, she realized that no act of revenge was worth the price she had paid. And then on a warm spring night, a few months after the murder, Remy and Easy the Block Captain lay naked in her California king-size bed after a sweaty hour of freaky fun when the house lights suddenly went out. And now, because the writer of this story thinks Remy is one of the most beautiful queens in New York State, he will refrain from revealing details of how Papoose broke into the home that once was his. Armed with a Walmart machete and a .50 caliber Desert Eagle he borrowed from his mans and used those weapons to separate a man's eggplant emoji from his body before putting a large shell through the center of his forehead, followed by a torture session with his estranged wife that caused her to admit to taking out his new girl, which he captured on Instagram Live. Afterward, he saved detectives the headache of a hunt and turned himself in, feeling justified in his actions and showing no remorse.